Don't look at girls. Don't look at girls, okay? Like I told you. Don't look at girls.
Brandan, do you get it yet? Mary doesn't want you to look at girls.
Just look at me when you're not looking to the priest.
Stop misbehaving, Brandan. Stop looking at other people. How dare you?
Just behave.
Yeah, it's all a bit much, isn't it?
If I even turn my head, she doesn't like it. And that's up.
Brandan has finally had enough. He's finally ready to man up and tell Mary that he's done with her controlling ways. But the problem is, it's not going to be easy to get Mary to change. Nothing with Mary is ever easy.
I want you to trust that I can look and talk to anyone without leaving you.
Then find someone else.
I can't breathe! Is anyone surprised that Mary cries like a hyperventilating toddler?
Can you stop breathing so hard, maybe?
Now, before we dive into all the control, all the tears and all the drama, let's start from the beginning. So, when we last saw Brandan and Mary, Brandan was making peace with Mary's friends and getting an apology from Mary for her lying to him. He stood up for himself. He made sure that Mary understood that he can't just isolate himself from his friends and family for her. But whether or not that lesson has sunk in for Mary has yet to be seen.
I feel more relaxed having him by my side. So I feel like I'm not overthinking too much. I feel more secured and calm now.
That was always the plan, wasn't it? Bring Brandan to the Philippines so he can be by her side 24/7, so that she can know exactly what he's up to every second of every day. That's how she can avoid overthinking, right? But is just replacing a 24/7 video call with a 24/7 in-person relationship actually going to do either of them any good? So, with Brandan having been in the Philippines for a few days now, today, Mary wants to take him to church.
I won't force him, but he knows he really needs to go to the church if he wants to marry me.
Religion seems to play a very large role in Mary's life. She's told us that she comes from a religious family and that she intends to stay a virgin until marriage, thanks to her Catholic beliefs. The thing is, whilst Mary might be religious, Brandan isn't. He's just going along with it to keep her happy.
It's just not originally important to me, but if it's important to you, then it's important to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome, baby.
This is yet another example of Brandan just bending to Mary's will. She wants him to do something, so even if he doesn't really believe in it, he'll do it for her. But where does this end? Like, there's got to come a point where Brandan stops letting her treat him like a child, because that's exactly what she's doing here. That's exactly how she sees him.
So when we're going to church, do you know how to do the sign of the cross?
Yeah.
Can you show it to me?
Her disbelief is evident in her voice. She doesn't really think that Brandan knows. She doesn't trust him. She needs to see it with her own eyes. And when they actually arrive in the church, Mary continues to treat Brandan like a child by pointing out a statue of Jesus and explaining who it is, as if Brandan's never seen or heard of Jesus before.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's Jesus Christ.
Brandan's look here says it all. He's looking at her like, are you serious? Are you really treating me like an idiot? To which the answer is yes. Yes, she is. Because unfortunately, Brandan, it's about to get even worse. You see, Mary has very strict rules about where Brandan can direct his eyes.
Don't look at girls. Just look like at the priest. Okay?
Okay, baby.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mary, but what? So much for not overthinking now that Brandan's there in person. Her sheer lack of trust is absolutely mind-boggling. But you know what's even worse? The fact that Brandan's response to this is, okay, babby, I mean, come on, Brandon. Stand up for yourself, man.
A lot of pressure to just expect someone to basically adopt a religion. So Mary telling me that she doesn't want me looking at other girls is a bit much.
So tell her then. I can only assume that maybe Brandon doesn't want to cause a scene in the middle of church. But as the church service starts, it's hot, it's in a different language, and Brandon's not really that interested. He doesn't understand what's going on. Out of the corner of his eye, some movement catches his attention. It's an older Filipino lady fanning herself in the heat. But even that is enough for Mary. She's just caught him red-handed.
Don't look at girls, okay? Like I told you.
She's hardly a girl, Mary. That lady's old enough to be both your mothers. But then again, Mary does have jealousy issues with Brandon's own mum, so I guess this adds up. So the question is, at what point is this no longer about insecurity and more just about control? Is she annoyed because Brandon looked at a middle-aged auntie, or is she annoyed because Brandon didn't listen to her instructions?
If I even turn my head, she doesn't like it. And that's up.
Just look at me when you're not looking to the priest.
Sadly for Brandon, these repeated reminders not to look at other women continue throughout the entire service. It happens multiple times, and it's clear for all to see that Mary's bad behaviour is back with a vengeance. Any hopes Brandon had that being with her in person would make things better are quickly vanishing. And Brandon realises that he needs to nip this in the bud, fast.
To be physically controlled, like where I can look, who I can speak to, I don't think anyone should have to live like that. I just feel like I can't win.
Don't look at girls.
She just won't stop, will she? Brandon's right. No one should have to live like that, especially not someone who's moved across the world and built a bloody house for her. I mean, what else does he need to do to prove his commitment? Well, as expected, Mary has more. Because as they leave Mass, the sun may have set, but Mary isn't yet done with setting the rules.
I want you to go to church every Sunday. I want you to know and believe that God really exists.
Religion's a deeply personal thing. It's not exactly a switch that he can just flip on and suddenly believe. So despite earlier saying that she didn't want to force him into religion, her language now is quite forceful, which seems to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Considering all he's put up with today, Brandon knows that away from public, it's finally time to confront her.
I just want to be clear about something. I'm willing to learn, but I don't want to be forced into submission.
Yes, Brandon, take control, assert yourself. Let her know you're not a little child to be bossed around. The thing is, when Brandon tries to express that he didn't like being told where he could or couldn't look, guess what happens? Mary misses the point entirely. She just assumes that Brandon wants to look at girls.
You can do it if you want.
It's not about if I want. I can't, go out in public or look at someone without you accusing me of being a cheater.
Brandon can't understand why this is such a difficult concept for her. It's not about him wanting to look at other women. It's about the fact that she feels the need to tell him off for glancing at an old lady who's fanning herself. How can she not understand that that's just too much?
It's about you trusting me, not having this lack of faith in each other. Yeah, there you go. Think about that.
Mary's shaking her head like she can't believe what she's hearing. We can all sense that waterworks are imminent. She feels like she can accuse Brandon multiple times a day with total impunity. But the second the spotlight gets directed at her, she cries. She's done it repeatedly. Like when Brandon was having a meal with his family. She wanted to make herself the victim. And she's doing exactly the same again now.
I just can't stop myself from being jealous. I'm afraid to be left behind.
Look, if you have to be positive, I guess it's something, a tiny thing, that Mary at least knows that her behaviour isn't good. But just knowing it doesn't excuse it. Now that Brandan's here in person, he expects her to work on these issues. He's pandered to her behaviour for 2.5 years. But if they're serious about getting married, if they're serious about this relationship lasting, well, he's got to put his foot down.
2.5 years, talking to you on the phone, never leaving you for anyone else, and then finally coming here in person, you still feel that I'm the kind of guy that would leave you?
Mary's mental illness, because that's exactly what this is, a mental illness, it's not logical. And that's what makes this so tough. This all stems from childhood trauma, from her parents abandoning her as a child. Now she lives in a constant state of fear. But at this point, Brandan can't do any more to prove himself. This isn't about him anymore. It's about her. But sadly, she doesn't know what to do.
Every time I meet people, I'm afraid that if I love them, they will just leave me behind. I don't like it, but I can't stop it.
Mary's just accepted that she can't stop it. She needs professional help to be able to work through her issues. If the right help isn't available in person, given that she's in rural Philippines, perhaps she might want to consider online help. If she's got enough bandwidth to do 24/7 video calls, she should be able to jump on a call with someone that can help her. Because sadly, Brandan isn't equipped to deal with this. He still clings on to the hope that she might just magically change.
Even if we had kids, would you finally let go of your fear of abandonment?
Brandan's acting like Mary somehow has a choice in the matter. But I think this is a much deeper issue. I don't think she wants to be like this, but I don't think she has control of her own behaviour. And the way that she can't even look at Brandan says to me that she knows it. She just looks down at her lap, and in response to Brandan's question, she inaudibly whispers,
I need to know.
Maybe.
Watching Mary like this is really sad. You can see just how much pain this is causing her. She realises she's well aware that she's pushing Brandan away, but she doesn't know what she can do about it. But from Brandan's perspective, he needs more. I don't know, maybe isn't gonna cut it for him, and you really can't blame him for that.
It's kind of hard to hold on to, maybe. I need something to hold on to.
Say what you want me to do.
Brandan's demanding the answers he needs in order to stay in the relationship, but Mary can't give them to him. She has no control over her jealousy, and she doesn't know what to do about it. But importantly, she also doesn't seem willing to try to change. She doesn't seem willing to try and find a solution. After everything that Brandan's done for her, all his sacrifices, building a home, moving across the country, giving up his friends and family, it must really hurt him to see how easily Mary just gives up.
I want you to trust that I can look and talk to anyone without leaving you.
Then find someone else.
Instead of committing to work on herself, Mary self-sabotages. In her mind, she's probably hearing the voice play out saying, why bother? He's only going to leave you one day anyway. Everyone always does. Which explains why now she's resorted to pushing him away before he leaves. But that was the last thing that Brandan expected to hear, and poor Brandan's disappointment is clear for all to see.
I'm telling you that even in person, I feel like I'm still not good enough for your trust.
What do you want me to do, please?
Look, for as easy as it is to blame everything on Mary, we've also got to remember that Brandan has his own array of issues that he's dealing with. He's by no means perfect, and that is what attracted these two together in the first place. Brandan's self-esteem already seems to be at rock bottom, and Mary's behaviour is only making it worse. But right now, she's too busy crying like a child and worrying about herself to realise the impact this is all having on the man she claims to love. And just like that, once again, this has become the Mary show. She's the victim. She can't breathe. It's all about her. And the sad part is, although this is where the episode ends, so we don't know what happens next, if I were to tell you that Brandan turned round and apologised to Mary for making her cry, I don't think you'd be surprised.
I'm sorry.
I hope he didn't, but chances are he probably did.